welcome to the Weekly Social, folks. Everything Katy, Fulshear, Richmond, Texas. Today we have James Pruss with Noah James Insurance, as well as Priscilla Poff, which everybody, I'm sure, knows Priscilla.
Thank you, Richard.
So, thanks for coming out today, James.
Yeah, you're welcome, Richard. Pleased to be here.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I've been in Katy for about 11 years. I actually was living abroad in the Asia Pacific region, moved back to Katy, and started my brokerage here about a year and a half ago after working with a couple of larger insurance carriers. I was previously with Aon and Acrisure, which are very large brokers.
Okay.
And then decided to open up my own, which is Noah James Insurance. And
that's a pretty unique name.
Yeah. Well, basically named after my son, and it incorporates the two names.
That's cool.
Very cool.
I like that.
So my 16-year-old already has a business
by
default with his name on it.
Right.
We call that an exit strategy.
Yeah, he's
a legacy.
He's the Noah in the James Insurance. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, and we basically write all types of insurance, but I specialize in commercial business lines.
Okay.
Write a lot of small business insurance, which is good because it's one of the fastest growth areas is in the small commercial space, and across all different types of industries. And then I also write travel insurance for leisure.
That's very unique because most people aren't aware of this.
Correct. Leisure or mission trip. So that, of course, very popular. We're here in Texas. A lot of people do the mission trips. So I work with churches. I work with synagogues, churches, anyone doing mission trip type travel.
Okay.
And then also on the leisure side, of course, people going on cruises and so on. And we help them save a lot of money, basically, on that type of travel.
So what does that mean? What does that mean for somebody? What does that insurance cover?
So let's say you have health insurance, and then you're going to travel out of the country. Because I think that's where you come into play, correct?
Right, because the insurance coverage that you have in the U.S. market is not portable, meaning it doesn't cross. You cannot use it outside the U.S. unless you're a veteran. That insurance would cover.
Okay.
So you need to purchase a specific travel policy, and that's where we come in. So I work with 21 different insurers who in turn offer about 100 plus plans, and most people don't know, like, what do I need, because every country has a different risk
and that's
profile.
I would have never thought you couldn't
sense.
get your insurance out of America. I would have never thought that.
No, I didn't either.
And the same thing, like if you're going on a cruise, you need different type of insurance than if you're going, staying on land. So we have all those types of policies, and as I mentioned, from 21 different insurers. And having lived overseas and been in the same business, I know what people need. So it's easy for me to say, okay, you're going to this country. I know the medical system there is not particularly good, so you're going to need more robust or better coverage than if you go to, let's say, a Western country.
Okay. So this is medical coverage.
Yeah.
If something happens while you're there,
Correct.
then you have,
Yeah.
you're not coming out of pocket.
Correct. It's inpatient, outpatient, and the most important feature is the medical evacuation. So if, God forbid, it's a serious incident, they will take you to the nearest center of excellence. If that's not in that particular country, because let's say that country is a third world country with not a very, they'll take you to the nearest hospital that has a better, has Western standards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all paid for.
Okay.
You
So
have no
they'll
out of
take
pocket.
you to Germany or Switzerland or England
Correct.
or whatever if you need to go.
Right, and that's all paid for. So there's no deductible on these plans.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and so what we're able to do is basically, because of the system that we use, we're able to source these coverages at better prices, and it's a really gratifying business as well, because everyone loves to travel, and I love to travel. So
yes,
I like to say
that is cool. So what would if I'm going, I don't know, make up a place, London.
Yeah.
For 10 days.
Right.
What would a policy?
I
don't know. Is that the right question to ask? What would it cost me to have coverage?
Yeah. So basically, the big determining factors on cost of the policy would be the client's age. That's the major
Of course.
driver. Okay, destination does not really matter as much. It's all
Really?
No,
I'm
everybody would think it's destination.
I'm very shocked on that one.
I know. Initially I said, well, it's got to have to be. It must be with the destination. No.
Yeah.
It's the age is the major driver.
Okay.
Pre-existing?
No. No, because they write in exclusions in some cases for pre-existing, but most of it is covered as long as the symptoms were not evident, like while they were traveling. In other words, it won't. That can be a little bit of a gray area, the pre-existing conditions.
Okay.
But it covers everything else: inpatient, outpatient, and so on. But yes, so the major factor is going to be the age of the of the traveler.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So when we retire and we're able to have that time to go and do those trips, it's going to cost us a little more.
It's going to cost more. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, like, when you get to be about 75 or 80, that's when insurers, some of them don't want to write anymore, or they'll just only cover a much smaller amount because of age.
Why? Because everybody's living to 90 now.
But some of them will cover up until there's no maximum.
Limit. Okay. All right. So what am I looking at? A couple $100 or?
Yeah, okay. So let's say I've just wrote a policy. The people were the trip cost was on that one was like the trip cost was about $3,000, because that's another factor. How much does the trip cost? Because that's what they're insuring. They're only insuring the non-refundable cost of the trip. You don't need to insure anything that's refundable.
So that's part of the health coverage?
Yeah.
Cost as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're getting coverage for lost and stolen bags, flight cancellation, medical evacuation and repatriation. I think I mentioned lost and stolen bags.
Right.
And inpatient, outpatient medical expenses. Now, outpatient would be paying claims, so you just pay it and claim it to the insurance company. Inpatient, it's typically direct bill, so it's cashless. If you have to go in the hospital, God forbid, you go in, it's coordinated by the insurance. They settle directly with the hospital.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
And there's no, it's 100%. There's no extra.
100%.
It's not a $5,000, $10,000
No
deductible.
deductible.
Okay.
They're all zero deductible policies, which is what's great.
So say it's a 40-year-old that's going to do this trip.
Yeah, you asked me before, right? So what would it cost? Okay, so let's say it was a $3,000 trip. They're insuring it for $3,000. It might be, and it's 10 days, because that's the other factor. How many days? So it could be around, let's say, $200 to insure the trip.
Oh, that's nominal.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is so worth it.
You can't afford not to do it for
No,
that.
you cannot.
Because what's $200 to buy today? Nothing.
Yeah, well, the other thing is this. Some countries require that you enter the country showing proof of valid medical coverage. And that's something you need to check, because if you don't show that, they will force you to buy it upon entry to the country.
I'm sure that premium's a little higher than your premium.
Well, actually, it's not that it's the premium. It's the coverage is terrible, and it's not that expensive, but it covers you for nothing. So
you're buying nothing, basically.
Yeah, you would have to be treated in country. So if you're going to a third world country and you didn't buy good insurance, well, guess what? You're going to get treated in that country. It's not up to you.
Yes.
Wow.
What about countries that have like social medicine and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Are we covered in those or not?
Yes, covered. Because it's not through their. Are Americans covered
Yes,
in their countries?
if we're in their country. No.
Not covered, because you're not a citizen of that country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like that in America.
No.
Yeah.
They treat everybody.
Right.
Just go to the
But
emergency room.
Right.
That's
but
right.
I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. But man, that's so worth it.
Yeah, it is. It's what do they say? Penny wise, pound foolish. I mean, it's just it's a no-brainer. So, I have a lot of travelers. Most of my clients, I would say, are in the age range of 40 up. You know, they tend to be more of the leisure
You
travelers.
don't have money until you hit that age.
Yes. Yes. Or you
disposable
have kids.
money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And I think also people 40 up are more like conscious of those potential
transfer of
getting
risk,
sick, and all that kind of stuff. So that's part of what I do, and so on the leisure and on the mission trip side, and then the other thing that I do is I do commercial, for small business, as I mentioned, and then I also do homeowners. So I write homeowners coverage with a few different carriers. And of course, that market has been really, really challenging because of the rates, as everybody knows, have been going through the
everything's
roof.
shape-shifted in the last 12 to 18 months with homeowners insurance.
Homeowners is going through the roof.
I mean, every day it's something new or different. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's hurting a lot of people
Me
because
included.
it is really raising that monthly payment up for them.
So everybody's shopping the market, and I represent carriers that are at the high end of the market because that's who a lot of my clients tend to be. So I represent Chubb and a couple of other carriers.
That's a very exclusive company. A lot of
I've
people
never heard of that.
Most people have not heard of
Yeah,
them.
I guess I'm not in that category.
Chubb, I mean, they are superb. They're like one of the top insurers in the market, and they used to insure homes anywhere from 700,000 or 800,000 up. It depends on the zip code and all that stuff. Now they won't touch a home that's less than $2 million. And I said, "Are you kidding me?
Wow,
$2 million." So
that's not a lot of homes in Houston. There is some.
Yes.
But
And so
700,000-800,000. That's a lot bigger portfolio.
Exactly. So there are other carriers that have jumped into the fray that are more than willing to insure homes in that range. So it's just that you're going to see its rates are definitely going up on the insurance side. So
do you see it happening? I mean, it's gonna go up again. Probably.
It's been a continuous increase on homeowners.
And that multiple insurance carriers are pulling out of our market.
Correct. That's right. Yeah, they are. Some carriers are pulling out. They just don't want to write anymore because they've taken too many losses, whether it be from flood or things like that. They don't want to write in this market or in certain zip codes.
Wind, hail, and roof.
Wind.
That's a huge challenge in our market.
So are you
today.
doing that also because you're doing homeowners? And is it
homeowners.
better to bundle all that together?
Yes. Here's the other thing. So the better carriers or the higher end carriers, they won't just write homeowners. You have to write a bundle. So you have to do your homeowners, your auto. Some want you to write 3 policies with them, like an umbrella, homeowners, and let's say your auto.
Okay.
Oh, they won't.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a challenge.
What about, can you do the wind and the flood?
As two lines of business, wind and
Well,
flood?
just
Yeah.
in
just wind and-
coordination
no.
with the homeowners insurance.
You can.
You can. Okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
you have to bundle, right? You can't
Right.
just exactly.
Okay. But what about
Flood's very important in our local market.
Oh yeah.
very, very important.
Just because it's not required doesn't mean you don't need it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
there's some insurers who will say, "Yeah, well, we write the dwelling, but we won't write flood." So that's not going to help.
So they don't offer the FEMA policy or a private policy?
You have to procure the FEMA policy outside of
Yeah,
outside
FEMA's
of-
directly
yeah.
That's
through
through
FEMA.
third
FEMA.
market. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then, but you do have private that you can go through.
Or you're right. There's a big private flood market, right? But rates tend to be higher in that market. So a lot of
But
variables.
FEMA maxes out what at 250?
250 and 100.
Yeah, I don't write a lot of flood because I just started to get into homeowners. I just started writing homeowners. So I haven't come across like too many challenging cases with flood and all that. It's been more of everything else, the commercial, travel, and so on. And for health insurance, because everyone says, "Oh, well, can I get group health insurance?
Right.
Or can I get?" I don't write individual health. I refer that to another partner that I have who has another practice, and he does a lot of private health.
Which for small business
For
owners,
small-
that's a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a big
Yes.
challenge. A lot of small business owners have gone to PEOs, professional employer organization, who
Right.
pool
Together,
to
right.
get you a lower rate. So I'll work either with a PEO or I'll help them source the coverage through one of my industry partners who's a much larger brokerage that has specialized health. So I can move them to that company. So basically, they don't have to run all over the market. I have can basically get them set up with what they need.
Okay.
The stuff that's around $400 or $500 that I researched, I mean, that's catastrophic, basically. Unless you're spending around $800 a month, you're not really buying anything today.
Yeah.
And that's 10 grand a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. So, okay, on the commercial, let's say Select Title, our office.
Right.
Then you're looking at if we own the building or not.
Right. That would be important. Of course, that's really important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it,
Sure.
Do you own the property? Do you rent? And so on. Yeah, that's really a big factor.
Right.
Yeah.
Does the type of lease play? Because, I mean, there's like triple net leases, there's percentage leases. There's a lot of different ways that you can write commercial leases. And I'm just asking to see if there's a variable there.
Yes.
It wouldn't be a factor in terms of determining the premium.
Okay, so just lease or own. As
Okay.
far as the structure of the lease
Lease
has
or-
nothing to do with it.
No,
Okay.
no.
Is there anything else that you can give us some?
Well, they're going to look at the type. What's the type of structure? How old is it? Where is it near a floodplain? All of those kinds of things
Right.
Will be factors in determining the premiums. So,
But maybe what have you seen in looking at policies for, somebody leasing an office space,
right.
and maybe they don't have something in their policy covered? Is there anything you've seen in the past, or just stories?
I haven't seen any kind of, thankfully, I haven't seen anything like that where something was completely missed.
Right,
And
right.
they had a
Thank God.
giant claim.
Yes,
and they
thank
had
goodness.
a giant claim on that, or I looked at it and I said, "Oh my God, they don't have this coverage. Why?" What I have seen is instances where, because I deal also with a lot of nonprofit churches and so on, as I mentioned.
Oh, awesome.
And so obviously during the floods, they got really hit hard, some of these churches, right?
Yes.
So their rates went through the roof on that.
Oh, wow.
And, the claims were paid, but right after that, their premiums just went up
Yes.
like crazy.
Yes.
Or they were being dropped.
Right.
Because a lot of insurers have pulled out of the market here in Texas when it comes to nonprofit. It's just too much risk here.
I mean,
and
think
they've had
about
too
after
many losses.
Harvey, the Ballard House. It was flooded.
Yes, that I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that. Yeah.
So it had to be
How
completely
long did
redone.
it take them to redo that? It was a while.
It was a while, for 6 months, maybe. It took a while. Yeah. So, I don't know. We always like stories,
Yeah.
On
What got you into insurance?
Yeah.
Well, when I was living overseas, because I lived in Asia for a while, was working over there, and I was working for a company called International SOS, which is the world's largest medical travel and security assistance company. We worked with all the expats living
Okay.
at that time I was living in Vietnam and working there. And so
I love Vietnamese food, by the way.
plug here, Faux Saigon is legitimate. It's good. It tastes like the food in Vietnam.
That's the first place you took me
Yeah.
It's good.
to have the pho.
And they didn't pay me
Pho.
for this.
Pho. Sorry.
You're an American.
I know. Sorry. Mhm.
So, what was I saying? Yeah, so
expats.
yeah, so I was working with expats. Then when I came back to the U.S., I was really interested in, I still was not working in insurance yet. I was working for a company doing the same kind of medical travel and security assistance, but here in the U.S. at a different company. And then because of when I worked overseas, I had been working with the insurers, managing the relationship when I was at International SOS. So that's where I said, you know what, that's interesting, working with the insurance companies. And then when I was here, I saw, I said, people here are selling these policies, but they've never traveled to all these places. So how could they understand what the risk is? They're just selling like a generic travel policy.
Oh, yes.
So you were looking at it through a totally different lens.
Yeah, it was
right.
like, well, I've been to that country and you need more coverage than that, but how would you know if you've not been there before?
Right.
In their
Right.
defense. So I said, that's a place where I can make a difference, because I know, like, what the, in a lot of these countries, obviously I haven't been to every one of them, but in general, I know what the medical system is like. I know what the most important features of the policy are, and I can effectively,
So you
show
can
this
better
to people.
guide somebody
Yeah,
into what they
to
truly
what they need. So that's how it all started off, was working with some churches, not just in Houston, but across the country, helping them out with their travel medical insurance for mission trips.
Right. And I mean, oldest niece, she went on a lot of mission trips and, went to Peru, went to South Africa, went, and all that.
I would
But
love to
I
see
don't-
Machu Picchu, speaking of Peru.
Yeah.
But I don't remember any time that anybody brought up that we needed insurance for her for these trips.
Well, it really started with COVID. That's when it really started.
Oh.
Ah.
Basically, COVID was a killer because in more than one way, because it completely closed the door on tourism, because at the time nobody
Right.
was going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So the industry was decimated. And then when it started to open up again, insurers were adding COVID coverage as an option. And then it was so popular, they decided to add it in every policy and raise the premiums, because people were so fearful of COVID, they were going to buy it anyway. And so they said, well, let's just throw it into the
So
coverage.
it created its own business.
It created its own business. It was a big money maker for the insurance companies, and to this day, they clearly state in most insurers that this includes COVID coverage. I know every policy that I have includes coverage for COVID-related illness, even though you really don't hear about it as much, but it's on the mind of, I guess, some people. So, that's how it's...
I've never heard of it till today.
I haven't
Yeah, I
either.
mean, it's really made a lasting impact in terms of travel and the pricing for travel.
But what that reminds me of is, you remember, Richard, when, our hazard insurance covered mold in houses.
Oh yeah, that's gone today.
But that's removed
That's
from
an
those
exclusion,
policies.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
I
I mean, I'm not an insurance guy,
Right,
but
right. But I'm
but you
wondering...
don't hear that. You don't see the signage.
Because
Nobody's
people
chasing
took
mold anymore.
advantage, I guess, of it.
Right.
And
Every home in Houston has mold, but is it black mold? I mean, there's a difference there.
Right.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
We're in a humid
But I'm
environment.
just, I'm thinking about that being added to hazard insurance policies for homes. Now COVID being added to our health insurance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's on all the travel policies now, is
Okay.
COVID. And now the newest thing is kidnap and ransom, because
That
it's a
happens
much
a
more
lot.
dangerous world out there. And again, depending on where you go, like if you're going to, like, it could happen anywhere, actually.
Right.
It doesn't matter where.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to areas that are more prone to that happening, like let's say in a more what's the right word? If it's an area where there's people are poorer and so on, and there's more corruption and things like that, you could have kidnap and ransom be more of a factor.
And so is it going to be higher in that area because it is more...
Well, no, the KNR, kidnap and ransom, it depends on the insurer, but there's different coverages. It's usually sold as an add-on or a standalone product.
That's kind of what I thought you were going
Yeah,
to tell me. I don't
yeah.
know why. I
And-
just thought
and-
that was an
yeah,
additional coverage.
And Chubb has a really good program on that. All the major carriers are in it. Chubb has a great program on it that's just very strong. It has a lot of features built into it. It has actual boots on the ground. When cases get really if they have to send in people for extraction,
Wow.
things like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not just insurance; extraction's part of it too. Wow.
Yeah. They use third parties for all that stuff. It's,
Mercenaries.
Okay.
that I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I'm just throwing
Don't
it out
know.
there
Yeah.
because you see all the stuff in movies. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
But kidnap and ransom is a growing thing. Cyber is exploding.
Oh, cyber's crazy.
And cyber previously was just for larger entities, not anymore.
Now it's everybody.
Cyber is basically for 70 to 75% of all companies out there need some sort of cyber liability protection.
So what about an individual? Can an individual get cyber protection?
I would imagine yes. I don't deal in the individual market for that, but there exists insurance products for every risk that's out there. So since the risk exists, I'm sure there's a market for it. I'm sure
Does
there's
an
some of them.
umbrella policy for a business or an individual, does that cover some of that? Or do you have to get additional policies?
No, I mean, if you have the umbrella, the policy for cyber could sit under the umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you had that, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because most businesses have an
would
umbrella
it
policy.
be packaged and sold as an add-on under the
It's,
umbrella?
the cyber is sold as an add-on that would sit
Okay.
under the umbrella, correct?
Should be tied to it. Got it.
Yeah. It would
So has the cost on that gone up and
cyber
up?
coverage has gone up because it's really, in demand. It's
I know two companies that have been hit with it, and it cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And the FBI advised them to actually pay the ransom. Unfortunately,
and I
not
know
one but two of them.
I know a big travel insurance provider that got hit with a major cyber attack. They were down for 4 months.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!
Can you imagine? Because most of their business was done online.
Yeah.
4 months they had,
They're out of business
out.
almost.
complete. I don't know how much they paid. I believe that was a ransomware attack. I don't know how much they paid on that, but it was a massive kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
4 months is a long time.
it is a long time. This was about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a
Wow.
it was a big thing. So so cyber is really a very important feature right now
Okay.
for businesses of all sizes.
But
And-
that's something you offer.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
And both these companies had to pay in Bitcoin.
yeah. I've heard about that as well. That the attackers demand payment in Bitcoin because it's not traceable.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, oh man.
So it's it's a lot of new challenges out there. New
our
ones
world
emerging
has,
every day.
yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
There's a pro and a con to everything. Yeah, it looks good on
Yeah.
one side, but on the back side, criminals can figure out stuff to leverage it. It's scary.
Yeah.
But the cool thing I like about this, James, is you're offering things to people to protect them and to keep
Very
them,
unique stuff.
yes,
Right.
that I had no idea.
Yeah, and I would say also for people, it's good to be proactive, to look at all your risk exposures with your broker, is to sit down with them, and they should go through a review with you at least once a year, if not
Like
more.
an interview type
Right.
process.
Yeah, go through
'Cause
everything.
everything changes.
Right, and just basically get feedback. What are my risk exposures? How have things changed? What's the market look like? Should I be paying, maybe we can lower the premium somewhere here, or do we need to increase coverage and all those kinds of things? So
Or drop coverage. I mean, if
Yeah.
it's moved out, moved
Yeah.
on.
Right.
Pick something.
right, because things change all the time, and I would encourage all the listeners to basically have a review of their policies every year for sure.
If
On
they
their
wanna-
commercial and individual.
Yep,
Any
all
policies, all
Yeah.
policies.
Yeah.
If they want to pick your brain, reach out, or hire you, hopefully that's why we're doing
Yeah,
this.
sure.
What's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you, James?
So they can reach me 2 ways. One would, well, more than 2, but the best 2 ways would be, of course, they can call me. My phone number is, I have an out-of-state phone number because I moved here from Massachusetts originally.
Okay.
Don't
All right.
take
We'll
that
keep
again.
you. We'll
Welcome
keep
to
you a little
Texas.
bit. Yeah.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that's another story. But 617-676-7858 is my
Mobile?
phone. Mobile, yep. Again, that's 617-676-7858. And then they can also reach me via email. Of course, it's going to be james@noahjamesinsurance.com.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect.
And those would be
Perfect.
the best ways to
So
to
you
reach
work
me.
with multiple. I mean, any travel agents need to get in contact with you, so they have you as a resource.
yeah.
Who else is some of your good customers that really need the benefit of having you.
Yeah. So, for example, as I mentioned before, I work with a lot of the churches, synagogues, and so on.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Who are looking for coverage for the building and for all the other coverages. Every
For the mission trips that they've got planned, get all that lined up.
And nonprofit organizations, because all of these companies need common coverages. They all need directors and officers. If it's a nonprofit, they need nonprofit director and officers coverage, which I won't get into it because it's too complicated, or probably put half your listeners to sleep.
Thank you.
Anyway, but they need a lot of different coverages. Then of course, homeowners we talked about, commercial lines. Besides the nonprofit, I also write a lot with healthcare. So meaning ERs, urgent cares, physicians' offices. They need lots of different coverages as well.
Okay, all right.
Yep. And then the other thing is I work in energy, oil and gas. And then it's everything else in between, from a handyman to, they all need coverage.
It's a very broad
Yes.
spectrum.
Yeah,
Very.
it is a broad. So the focus is those three verticals, so to speak. But then I do work with companies from all different sectors across the board.
Okay, is it Texas only, or can you?
Texas and Colorado, I can write in either one of those states, and
Okay.
I'm adding on additional
Okay.
states as well.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
And then when it comes to travel, it's all 50 states. My licenses cross boundary. I can write in all 50 for travel.
So if you're living in Florida and you're fixing to have
Yes.
a
And
trip,
you're watching this.
You can
Correct.
get coverage with you. Okay.
Yeah, I have clients
All right, all right.
everywhere on the travel side.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Man,
That's
some
it.
great information.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
yeah.
you.
Very,
Yeah, you're
very,
welcome.
very good.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah, we all need to look at that for 2025, which is not that far
Yeah.
away. Ah,
Yes.
Everybody
Yes.
needs a vacation, right?
yes.
Yes.
So I tell most of my clients I live vicariously through them.
Yeah, there you go.
They go on all these incredible trips, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I used to think about going there. But-
So, oh wow, that's great. Okay, any questions that we've got or
Any
anything
final
going
thoughts?
out, Jake? Anything?
No.
Okay.
We're
Just
good.
wanted to make sure.
That's it.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in this week. We will see you next Friday at 11 a.m. We appreciate all the support and the 3,000 to 4,000 views that we're getting weekly, guys. And again, give James a call if you have any questions. And the best number to reach you at is
617-676-7858. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
We
Thanks, James.
appreciate
Enjoyed
it.
it.
You bet.
It was fun. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
All right. We'll see you next week, guys.
Bye, guys.